Yeah, we bring reviews of your house. Talk to our dudes of your house. I bring my views of your house. Wrestling truths of your house. We talk to you in your house. We keeps it cool in your house. We keeps it cool in your house. I'm spitting truths in your house. Yeah. Mark's hating on his fans. Becky's niche on the man. Play you with two like a lions. Household a dangerous alliance. I am a diamond like Cody. And I'm overcoming like Kobe. No, they cannot hold me. Come listen, I'm hosting, critiquing, I'm boasting. This wrestling I'm knowing.
Fuck this shit! It's all about podcasts these days.
This is Leo Rush, the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, and you are listening to the In Your House podcast.
This is Austin Theory of Evolve, and you're listening to the In Your House podcast.
This is AEW's Darby Allin, and you're listening to In Your House podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to In Your House, starring Alakon House and my man, Michael Hutchison. That's Mikey Hutch. This is the People's Podcast. Hey guys, you already know who it is. It's your boys, Con and Hutch, ready to get at work when it comes to this professional wrestling business. That is what we do, and hey, we love it. So let you guys know where you guys can listen to this at. You guys can listen to this at Apple Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Himalaya. Hey, you don't have an Apple device? That's alright. We're on Google Play. Anywhere that you guys are, we can get to you when, ooh, where is the clock? I'm checking the time because last time that I checked, In Your House was the hottest professional wrestling podcast in the Midwest because we hit them with that work, round the clock. You guys already know what it is. Oh yes, the director's in the building. Me and Hutch about to kill him. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Just hanging out at home, catching up on some video games, and watching the lowest attended Wrestlemania ever.
Yeah, man, it's record breaking.
Yeah, it was something. It was something. I at the very least, I think you could say it's the very definition of a mixed bag.
For sure, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But there was a lot of good things, man. A lot of good stuff happened. But yeah, we're here to talk about it.
Absolutely, guys. It's been a little bit since we dropped an episode, and man, it everything's, you know, as you guys know, the condition of today's age has changed, you know, so it's been a little bit tough to put out content, but you know, now I'm on vacation this week for my job, no excuse not to do it, and coming off of what was a unique WrestleMania, Hutch, we decided to put something together, something called the WrestleMania Roundtable. So that means, you know, it means we're not alone on this one, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's WrestleMania. We had to bring in the squad. You know, we threw up the signal, yep. And you know, we summoned the crew,
sure,
the posse,
yep.
as it were. So,
sure did.
So yeah.
Yes, man, and the people that we brought in, man, a lot of you know, usual suspects. You know, it is all the usual suspects. And starting out, of course, we had to bring on the outcast of the podcast, Docs. How's it going, bro?
Oh, I'm dead inside, but some things never change.
Oh man, we know how it goes, man. We know how it goes with you. And you checked out WrestleMania, man, and what was your overall thoughts before we bring in our next guest?
Overall, just to, sum it all up, it's probably one of the better Manias that's, happened besides in recent memory, like going back to 30 and 24, which were solid, but it's probably up there. It was definitely weird as hell, but it was solid. I don't have too many complaints.
Yeah, and I think that that's going to be kind of the theme of this, is that I think that in my opinion, I think that we could pick it apart, but considering the circumstances, once again, going back to the condition of today's day and age, I don't think it's fair to totally rip it. I mean, definitely, we critique. That's what we do here, is we talk about things and break them down. But I don't know. I think that it doesn't deserve to be completely ripped, but we'll see where it goes here, because everybody has a different opinion, different thoughts. And with that being said, we have our other guest here, and that's a returning guest, such as everybody is here, and that's reporter Drake Kennedy. How's it going, bro?
It's going pretty good. How are you guys doing on this fine Monday afternoon?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Just staying at home like we're supposed to be doing, and just catching up on video games and stuff like that, just like Hutch was saying. What was your overall thoughts on WrestleMania Night 1 and 2 before we move on to our last guest?
I thought it was a good show. I thought the talent put in a lot of work. They treated it, to me, I thought they treated it just like it was a full arena. Yeah. And I thought that was wonderful. Plenty of ups, there were some middle sections. I really wouldn't say there's a huge downer note for WrestleMania, but I thought it was a good show overall.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we're definitely gonna dig into that more and break it down. But bringing in our last guest here, we have Miss Fabulosity, Miss Kayla K. How's it going?
It's fine, going good, as well as it can be expected.
Right.
Just working, staying quarantined, and dealing with all of y'all.
Of course. So what was your overall thoughts on the show?
It was good, like everybody stated. I feel like the talent still devoted themselves to it full-fledged and gave their all, as if there would have been a full crowd. So, I mean, it was definitely good. As we're going to get into it, there was highlights and some not so, but, I mean, that's with any show, so.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. And WrestleMania was unique, guys. It was unique in a way that, well, not only did we get it for 2 nights, but, of course, the obvious, it was in an empty arena, which I mean, if a lot of wrestlers would tell you that if you started out as a wrestler from the very bottom, I mean, you've worked arenas with little to no people there. So, this is something that I think a lot of the talent has not had to deal with, because if you get brought in, straight from the WWE, I mean, you didn't work those empty gyms, empty, National Guard armories or some, things like that. So it was a lot of adjusting for a lot of different people, but for a lot of the talent, they were right there at home. I'm talking guys like Daniel Bryan, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, that have worked in those type of environments. Hutch, what was you thinking about everybody's ability to kind of perform in front of no one?
Well, one thing I'll say, and I actually put this out on Twitter last night, is regardless if I was a fan of some of the outcomes, because there's one match in particular that I just really don't understand why it went the way it did. Yeah. But again, that's nitpicking stuff. But regardless of that, every single person busted their ass to put on the best show that they could. Yeah. And I think they succeeded. I mean, can I sit here and say that I was personally invested in every single match? No, but that was through no fault of the talent, because again, the matches themselves were executed as best as they could be. They all told the story that they wanted to tell. The thing that hurt it was, again, the lack of stories in some of the matches going into it to begin with. Yeah. Like Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley. Yeah. The match was good, but all of a sudden, why are they fighting? Like they were just put together. You know what I mean? But again, it was through no fault of their own. But again, I think everybody did very well as far as the in-ring stuff. Some stood out more than others. And, and we talked on here before about how, like, this could really kind of allow a talent to show, like, a different way of that they can perform without being in front of a crowd. So, but yeah, I think everybody did great.
I agree with that. I think everybody did their best possible job they could have done considering the circumstances. It's got to be rough because a lot of these guys, they get their adrenaline from the crowd, from the people, and it's because I'm looking at guys like the Street Profits, guys like Otis, who get a lot of energy from the crowd naturally, and like Otis had to fire himself up, in a way that he would have fired himself up, and it probably would have been more effective if the crowd was there, but he still did it, and it was just fine. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the openers of night one, because I'll be completely honest, this is what we do. We've been doing this for 180 plus episodes and just giving our honest opinion. The opener, the first two matches of WrestleMania Night 1, I almost tuned out. Because I was just not invested. I really felt like they probably should have gave an opener, like possibly that ladder match. It would have been a good opener to kind of hook people in. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to throw it over to Drake, man. What was you thinking about the opening of WrestleMania Night 1?
It didn't do it for me. It didn't grab me like I wanted it to. I wasn't sure if it was the fact that there were no fans in the audience, or it was just the match placement, what they decided to start with just didn't get me. Yeah. Honestly, it was so not memorable at all to me. I can't even remember what the opening match for night 1 was. Was that Liv Morgan?
No, that was it was actually the first match was Bliss and Cross versus the Kabuki Warriors, and then King Corbin and Elias, and both were very forgettable in my personal opinion.
Yeah, the tag, I enjoyed. The tag match was all right. It wasn't nothing to write home about. It did its job. I was happy to see the belts get put back on Alexa and Nikki. But other than that, it just didn't hook me. I'm with you on the ladder match. Probably would have been a really good opener to pull everybody in for such a weird feeling Mania.
Yeah. I agree with that, man, because with that being said, like I said, I thought everybody worked well, and that I'm echoing what Hutch is saying. I thought everybody worked well, did their parts well, but even with that being said, it's WrestleMania. WrestleMania is a spectacle. WrestleMania is supposed to be memorable. Those first two matches, even though the talents worked well, were not memorable to me. Docs, where were you at with the opening of WrestleMania Night 1?
Definitely in the same boat as y'all. Like, the matches were fine. I love, both of the tag teams and the women's tag matches, but and as far as Baron Corbin and Elias goes, that match I don't think should have happened because Elias died. But these are SmackDown matches that got put to open Mania. They're not something that it's not a WrestleMania match. I'm sorry, it's just not. Now, on paper, the women's tag match definitely could have been, but we know they don't really give a shit about those belts, and so it's not really going to put a whole lot of time into crafting a great match if it's one of those situations. But, I feel like they were just, like you said, SmackDown matches on WrestleMania. It just didn't gel.
Yeah, that's where I was at, man, and I was even telling Miss Fabulosity, I was like, man, I'm so close to just turning off the network and finding something else to watch. But I wanted to have this conversation that we're having right now. I wanted to be able to talk about it because it was WrestleMania, and even if the opening wasn't great, I know they were going to do something amazing later on in the night. So I made myself watch the rest of it. Hutch, go ahead and chime in on that, man. Where were you at with the opening of night 1? What was your thoughts?
It was a slow start, man. I mean, again, I went in with my expectations low, because again, say what you want, it probably should have been postponed, but they were giving us a show, so I'm like, all right, let's see what they do. It didn't. The first night didn't hit with me until that ladder match.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I'm sitting there watching this ladder match, and this was kind of an ongoing theme through the night, and it's hard to not think about. There were moments where I was sad because just of the overall situation. It's like, man, in a ladder match, for example, these guys busted their ass in that match.
Yeah.
And, you know, doing stuff that usually garners pops and cheers from the crowd and oohs and ahs and all of that. And they didn't get that. You know, and fast forward to Drew McIntyre. You know what I mean? Like there were so many moments. And then, you know, Otis as well. Can you imagine the pop that Otis would have got if that would have been in front of 70,000+ people?
Yep.
I mean, it's hard to think about it. And again, I understand the circumstances as to why there wasn't a crowd, because again, logic, science, it just didn't need to happen.
Sure.
But yeah, back to your original question. It really didn't hit for me until the ladder match happened, and then it kind of ramped up from there, and culminated with some very, very cool stuff that I'm sure we're going to get to.
Absolutely, yeah, we are, and like you said, that ladder match, man, and that's really what I want to get to is the ladder match. Now, I feel like there was an element of that ladder match that got hurt because it was supposed to be. I mean, it's a tag team championship match, and it was a triple threat one-on-one match. You know, I really would have liked to have seen the tag teams, but after, you know, kind of doing a little research, and from what I understand, Miz was not feeling well. Miz was sick. And we don't want to play around with that right now. So I get it. I totally get it. I even was like, ooh, this might hurt that match. And I've done it a million times on this show, and I'll do it again. I was wrong because that was a fun match to watch, and I really enjoyed it. I always like a good ladder match. Yes, there was an element that was missing with the additional 3 guys, and it sucks, man. You know, it sucks for Big E and the other Uso brother that they weren't able to go out there and perform and do such a unique WrestleMania match. I'm sure they still got their WrestleMania payday. I would hope so. I mean, it's through no fault of their own why they weren't able to participate. So I would think they still got their WrestleMania payday, but I'm sure they wanted to be a part of the most unique WrestleMania ever, you know, and that throws it. I'm going to throw it over to Miss Fabulosity here. What were you thinking about that triple threat ladder match? What were your thoughts on it as you were watching it?
Well, it was. I mean, yeah, it was definitely unique. It was interesting. The fact. I mean, obviously we know pretty much why they didn't have the others come out, like you stated, but the fact that they're doing the tag with only one of each of the teams, it throws an interesting component in there because, I mean, that makes it more like survival of the fittest type thing and more reason to fight and go harder because you have to rely on yourself. So it was interesting. Obviously, I'm an Uso fan pretty much to the day I die, so I was rooting for them, but you know, it was a great match all around. I like the commentary between them. Obviously, Kofi and Jimmy was giving some words back and forth, and one of my favorite parts is when Jimmy had thrown Kofi's face into the ladder, and he's like said something along the lines of talking about he made it flat like his pancake or something like that. And it's just there was great wrestling and then great mouth work that was going along with it. So it was fun to watch.
Yeah,
definitely the first one I actually paid attention to.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. That was one thing I really liked throughout the night was that you really got a chance to focus on the guys talking trash to each other. And there was some talents that did that really, really well. Hutch, where were you at with the ladder match? What'd you take away from it? What were your thoughts?
Well, again, there was a lot of crazy spots in it, man. And, you know, going back to what you guys were saying in regards to, like, hearing the talent and everything, going back to the women's match, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, I had to turn the volume down on that because it sounded like I was on a Pornhub video.
I mean, I was treating it like it was, so...
Well, again, you know, hashtag quarantine life, you know. But yeah, back to the ladder match. I mean, it was nuts, man. I mean, again, it was, you know, again, it's what made me pay attention. It's what made me think, oh, okay, right on. And then, but again, it was just, it was so wild just to see these types of insane spots being done with no crowd there. I hate to keep going back to that, but man, it was just wild to see. But once I got over that, I mean, it was a fun ride, even though they had to kind of call an audible, like you said, in regards of Miz being sick. And then you mentioned something about the rest of the guys getting the payday. I don't know about that, pal. Vince McMahon doesn't believe in sick.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. You could be right.
So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, they probably did. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it was a fun match though, man. And again, it just seemed like from that point forward, Mania had my attention. I mean, it had its lull points, sure, but I mean, it was one of the standout moments for it. It was definitely on the good side of things.
Oh yeah. I thought that was good. I always love a good ladder match. I thought the ending was pretty creative. I mean, it was something different that we really hadn't seen. Drake, where was you at with that match? What was your thoughts on it, man?
I thought it was a really good match. It was really fun. I'll agree with you that it did feel like it was missing, all of the tag partners in the match, but understandable why they didn't go that route. But yeah, it was just a good match, and talking on that finish, I don't think I've ever seen. I probably have, but maybe I haven't seen that finish before. But it was really unexpected with seeing, the belt essentially disappeared out of Kofi and one of the Usos' arms, and Morrison's on that gigantic ladder bump. That was disgusting.
Whew. Yeah, it was. It really was, man. And for me, like, seeing that ending was cool and unique because I just kind of had a feeling Morrison was gonna Morrison and technically Miz too were gonna retain, but I mean they took me on a ride there. They got my attention. That was the very first match that I was like, okay, you got me, and it took me for a good ride. And once again, like I said, I always like a good ladder match. Docs, where were you at with it, man?
Yeah, similar to, I guess, the rest of the team here, it was the match that made me more invested in the show. Like, it brought me back into it after the lackluster start. I love the ending. I like creative ladder match endings, which the whole accidental pulling them down is one of two that I've wanted to happen for a while, so I'm glad that happened. And as far as the competitors, I think they chose the right member of each team.
Totally agree.
Kofi, Morrison, Jimmy. Although I guess Jimmy and Jay would both do well. It doesn't really matter in that aspect. But they chose the right members to compete.
Yeah.
And there was one thing stood out for me, and it's a very non-important thing. But when Morrison was on the pole and he does the, kind of fall over parkour corkscrew senton thing to Jimmy on the ladder, JBL said, reminds me of a young Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. I'm like, when the fuck did Mr. Perfect ever do that shit? And that stuck with me for, the rest of the show, and I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I'm glad I got to talk about it here. But, yeah, that messed with me. But all in all, it was a solid ladder match, and, just echoing what everyone else has said, would have been better with the other tag members, but, Miz has the tickets to the Backstreet Boy reunion tour, so it wouldn't have actually been safe. So, but yeah, no, it was a solid ladder match. Definitely one of two highlights of the first night of WrestleMania for me.
Sure, absolutely. It was a good match, and of course, saw Morrison retaining for his team. Personally, a match that, once again, not a bad match, but it's another one that just doesn't jump off to me, so we're not going to go over it too much. And that was Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler, and it saw Lynch retaining, which was a head-scratcher to me. And once again, just it wasn't something that pulled me out of my phone like the ladder match did. I don't know if it's because I'm kind of off the Becky Lynch bandwagon and have been for a long time. I don't know if it was that. And then I don't understand why Becky Lynch showed up in the big truck, and then they cut next, and then all of a sudden it's Shayna Baszler coming out. That was weird. I feel like if she was going to come, she should have been coming out right after that, but that's another nitpick. Hutch, where were you at with that match and the finish as a whole?
Well, this is the match that I kind of hinted at earlier that I just don't understand the ending of it.
Yeah.
They had Shayna Baszler cut through how many women during Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
Just to have her go under to Becky Lynch here. And, I kind of put something out there on Twitter about it that somebody replied and said, what, do you want to see a title change happen in an empty performance center? And I'm thinking, you're the same person who's been talking about wanting to see Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you want that title change to happen, but this can't happen? That doesn't make sense. And, like, not only that, but that Shayna Baszler's going to lose in the same way that she lost to, I do believe, Kairi Sane for the NXT championship back in the day. You mean to tell me? You mean to tell me an MMA fighter is not going to do study on herself and correct that mistake?
Great point.
That to me is not long-term booking for a character. That to me is just shoddy booking for a character, be it an empty arena or not. They did Shayna Baszler wrong in that match, if you ask me. It was time for Becky Lynch to drop that title. And like I said, and I'm not as on the bandwagon, kind of like Khan said, in regard to Becky Lynch, but that's, again, not her fault. That's the writing. They didn't continue to run with that the right way. But yeah, I think this was just a bad move on their part. I didn't think the match itself was bad. I just think the ending of it was not the way it should have went.
I agree. No, I agree with that, man, because that one left me scratching my head. And, that's why we're not going to really dig, like, usually, like, for the more important matches, I'm going to ask everybody's input. But for matches like that I just, you know what I mean? I'll throw it to, whoever I feel possibly has the best input on it. And I think that Hutch kind of broke it down, as best as he could. And while we're transitioning and moving into the next thing, I want to let you guys know we're going to drop this episode today, Monday. Right after we're done with it, guys. We want to put some content out for you guys. We're not going to put it out there on Tuesday morning or anything like that. We're just going to drop it, put it out there. I'll put my final touches on it, and we'll just put it out there for you guys to listen to. Hey guys, this is the director, Con House, of In Your House, and this episode is sponsored by Podcorn. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting podcasters to amazing podcast sponsorship opportunities such as host read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly without any exclusivities. You never give up any rights to your podcast, and Podcorn is here to support you at every step to ensure you're protected and compensated for the work that you do for brands. The marketplace mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative control, and freedom, and full control of how and when they monetize. So check the show notes on this episode and you will see a link to www.podcorn.com/podcasters. But now it's time to get back to In Your House. Moving right along here to the Intercontinental Championship match, Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. Two guys that I really, really like inside the ring. And I think they're two of my favorite in-ring performers as far as wrestling goes. And for me to say that is for me to say this, this is another match that didn't jump off to me. As much as I like both of those guys, it didn't jump off the screen to me. And I'm a huge Sami Zayn and huge Daniel Bryan fan. And the Intercontinental title was on the line. Everything, I just feel like everything would call for this to be right, because it's two guys that are just wrestlers going for the workhorse title, and I just felt like it should have hit with me a little bit more. But that's not to say the match was bad. They put on a fantastic match, and the Great Liberator came out with it and retained. But that's just my opinion on it. I'm gonna throw it over to Docs, man. What was you thinking about Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship?
It was Nah, I mean, like, it wasn't a bad match, but it was just kind of a letdown because, like, I've seen both of these dudes do amazing things. I've seen them have great chemistry before. Like, I also feel like the whole Sammy chicken shit heel running away spot at the beginning really dragged a little longer than it should have. They could have cut about probably a minute and a half off that. But overall, it was a match. It was 100% a match, and there was a winner, and then there was entrances, and there was some wrestling in there. But yeah, it was it wasn't bad. It was just shoulda, coulda, would have been better. I feel like there just wasn't as much put into it, and this isn't one of those things where it's like these guys, bank off of having a crowd. Yeah, they're guys that the crowd really loves and can get behind and fire up and whatnot. But both of these guys can have a solid match with a blow-up doll like the great Kenny Omega, but it was okay. It was meh.
Yeah, and of course you had Drew Gulak there at ringside. He had just lost his match to Cesaro in the pre-show. Shinsuke's there, Cesaro's there, and I'm just going to throw it out there before we move on to the next thing, because the next match we're going to be getting everybody's input on because it's worthy of it, is, man, seeing guys like Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura play kind of second fiddle to Sami Zayn. It's not anything against Sami Zayn, but it just goes back to Shinsuke Nakamura just always should have been standing on his own, and it just feels like it's just like clumped together. I know they're supposed to be like this international superpower type stable, I guess, but I'm just not vibing with it. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Once again, maybe that's why it hurt for me. Gulak, as much as I like the story between Gulak and Daniel Bryan, mutual respect, I always like those types of stories, but once again, just did not hit with me. So moving right along here to a match that I'm going to get everybody's input on. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, guys. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I was a little worried when they had the DQ finish, but I do have a nitpick about this match, but I'll say that kind of after I've let everybody say their piece. Yeah, so Hutch, what was you thinking about Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins?
Well, first off, huge pop to Seth Rollins for his outfit choice. he's really embracing this Messiah thing.
Yeah,
and it was awesome. And the match itself, again, it was a lot greater effort than it really needed to be put forth. In regards, what it was, given the circumstances. Some crazy spots, man. That Kevin Owens jumping off the WrestleMania sign.
That was dope.
That was pretty cool.
Pinpoint accuracy, hit right the spot, right where he needed to hit.
Yeah. Only took him 7 takes. The power of editing. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun match. I mean, again, it was one of those, it kept you engaged. And and another example of, working well without a large crowd, and both men have done that before. So, they kind of brought that big match field to not such a big match arena, if that makes sense. So, yeah it was a win for me.
Oh, yeah, it hit for me, most definitely. But I'm going to throw it over to Drake, man. What was you thinking about Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah, versus KO Mania?
I thought it was pretty good. Definitely, I agree with Mike. It brought that big match feel to the empty arena. That bump off the sign was ridiculous looking. If you guys follow Kevin Owens on the Twitter, he was tweeting something. I'm pretty sure it was the day of WrestleMania. He was talking about he was originally going to be jumping off the ship that they have in the arena in Tampa for the Buccaneers. And he was going to jump off of that somehow. So he had to call an audible to do the WrestleMania sign in the Performance Center, but it still was a fucking tremendous bump. I didn't have any worries about Kevin Owens going in there and performing in front of an empty arena, essentially just the fans on the internet, because he's such an indie darling and performed for 10, 15 people at a time back in the heyday. So
Yep.
it was just wonderful. It was a really good match. Like, they put in a lot of effort. I was really worried with that DQ finish at the beginning. Glad they did the turnaround. Yeah, just like that bump is what's been on my mind pretty much for the past couple of days. Like, that was one of my favorite bumps out of the whole WrestleMania, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a fun match. A lot of good that's one thing that stuck out to me, that match is, and you saw it in a lot of the matches. Don't get me wrong, but I loved the back and forth jaw jacking that they were doing, just talking shit to each other. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Docs, where were you at with Kevin Owens going up against the Monday Night Messiah?
Yeah, it was real solid. Again, like Hutch said, I popped pretty hard for CrossFit Jesus' Jesus-y CrossFit gimmick that he wore out there. And yeah, I was also kind of worried when they did the DQ spot. Like, is that it? And like, it didn't make sense to me logically, because Rollins was talking about his WrestleMania, accolades and shit. And it's like, you're just intentionally going to put a loss on there. Like, that didn't fit for me. But the whole, like, when they turned it into the no DQ thing, the spot off the sign, like, these guys are great. And like it's been touched on, I feel like with all the jaw jacking that's gone on in the ring with the empty crowd that we could hear, I think they did it probably best in my opinion, as opposed to any of the other matches, because these guys can talk shit and they do it so well. Yeah. But yeah, the match overall, definitely one of the highlights of night one. Yeah, it was a big match spectacle, and I really appreciated the work that the guys put into it.
Yeah, I do too. I thought it was, once again, fun match for a night that started off slow and picked up as it went on, and this just contributed to it. Miss Fabulosity, where were you at with that match?
I enjoyed it. Obviously, as everybody keeps saying, I mean, they fixed it with the no DQ. The bump itself was crazy. I remember I had made a comment. I was like, oh my God, I'm just glad he didn't fall trying to get to the spot to jump off on.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
He had to run a little bit. So, no, it was good. I mean, I've always been a fan of both of them. So I knew Seth was more likely going to win, but I wasn't going to be mad either way. I mean, so.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was fun.
It was Owens that came out winning it. But the match itself was good. My issue with it was this, that as I already said I was going to say, is this is why I really feel like WWE, Raw, SmackDown, they need authority figures, in my opinion, because when they restarted the match, it bugged me, because it's like, it's WrestleMania. First off, they gave the false DQ finish and stuff, and had me thinking, really, they're gonna finish this match like this at WrestleMania? But then they took it upon themselves to restart the match. Like, they couldn't have anybody else come out, Triple H, somebody come out and say, no, this isn't gonna end like this. Restart the match. They restarted their own match, and I wasn't with that. I don't think that they should be able to restart their own match, especially on something like WrestleMania. Once again, that's just a nitpick. That just bugged me, but that's why we can benefit from authority figures, and it's a role that there's definitely a spot for. I feel like if Triple H would have came out and said, no, this is WrestleMania, we're not ending on a DQ, restart the match, have it be no disqualification, I would have been cool with that, but they just restarted their own match, and it bugged me. But just like you guys have already said, I mean, the jaw jacking was great. You want your WrestleMania moment, and then jumping off, Owens jumping off of the sign, splitting Rollins in half. It was cool, and it was great. The constant trash talking to each other added to the nastiness to the bout itself. That it may have missed otherwise, because these guys have, once again, I think it was Docs who just said there's some great talkers, great shit talkers, great jaw jackers. It really added to the match, having that element there. And, I thoroughly enjoyed it myself. Now, moving right along here, this is a match I'm not going to ask everybody about. I'm just going to find somebody who I want to ask about. I'm going to ask them. And it's the Universal Championship match. That was Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. Man, like, first off, you know, it's cool that Braun Strowman won. Yay, he finally won the Universal Championship that he probably should have won 2 years ago. But that's neither here nor there. He beats Goldberg, gets the big moment, and I just didn't feel that big moment. I was seeing a lot of pushback on Strowman that very night, and this isn't something I'm going to go into a lot of detail on, but there was a lot of pushback on him winning that championship. A lot of guys in the business, a lot of indie guys in the business were saying, you know, pretty much fuck Strowman. You know, who cares if he won the championship? Because the comments that he made on Instagram about, you know, about how he had to work his way up and everything, and how guys are trying to eat off of their merch sales and Patreons and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna pull the exact Instagram post up. If you want to find it, you can go find it. We're not gonna give it too much oxygen. But I just know there was a lot of pushback on that. I thought it was, you know, it's cool. You know, the match was not, I mean, it was nothing. It was nothing. And it just was what it was. Drake, where were you at with the match and Braun Strowman finally getting his moment as the Universal Champion?
I mean, it went exactly how we all thought it was going to go, right?
Yeah.
While the entrances were coming out, no shit, and I'm not fronting or anything. You can ask the controversial mermaid Ariel about this. We were sitting there watching together, and I called it. I said, 4 spears. He's not going to pin him, and then he's going to hit him with his I don't even know what the finish is. He's going to do 4 of them on him, and that's it. Literally called the entire match. And
wow.
I think that's what upset me the most about it. It was I felt it. I was like, it's going to be 4 of each, and that's it. And it's going to be a quick match. And it was meh. It was just super, super meh to me.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say other than I predicted that shit, which it wasn't that hard. But I predicted that shit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 4 spears. I just knew he wasn't. Goldberg, whatever you want to call him, he was not getting that man up for a jackhammer. I knew a jackhammer. If he can't get the Undertaker up, he's not going to be able to get Braun Strowman up. I just knew it. Hutch, any other input that you want to add as far as his title win or the match itself, and then we'll move on?
No. We can spend our time talking about more interesting things. That did absolutely nothing for me.
Fair. That's fair, bro. This is an honest forum, you know, and it just was what it was, you know. So regardless of what you think about Braun Strowman and the comments that he had made, congratulations to him for his first Universal Championship win. Cool. That's what's up. You know, we're not gonna hate on the man. It just, the match was just boring. It was totally boring. That's it, period, exclamation point. Now to talk about something I've been dying to talk about this. And that was the main event of night 1. And that was the Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. And I mean, it was in my opinion, a fantastic cinematic experience. And just there was some parts. Was it a little cheesy? Yeah, it was a little. But overall, I mean, I really enjoyed myself. I felt like I was watching a weird combination of like professional wrestling and like something like The Walking Dead or something with those type of shots and stuff. I really enjoyed it. I had fun for what it was. That's the thing. That's the thing here, guys. We can break it down, tear it apart all we want to, but at the end of the day, what about your personal enjoyment? Did you like it? Did you think it was fun? I personally thought it was fun, and I thought it was a good way to showcase Undertaker without him, you know, looking old, you know, because we know Undertaker. I got a chance to watch, me and Miss Fabulosity got a chance to watch The Last Ride after WrestleMania was over, like the first episode. And guys, if you guys have not watched it, I'm just going to put it out there real quick. Undertaker is absolutely aware of everything that is said about him. And he knows. He knows it. And he just loves the business, you know. He said some things in that I was like, wow, I've said that, and now I feel bad because he's absolutely aware of it. But I thought the segment, whatever you want to call it what you want to call it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was awesome. I thought it highlighted Undertaker, made him look fucking cool. Hutch, where were you at with the Boneyard match between AJ Styles and The Undertaker?
Man, AJ Styles got buried with Maybelline hair and bootcut jeans. This shit, bro. This shit. I'm not gonna lie. At first, I'm like, this is the cheesiest shit I've ever seen with the punch sound effects and all that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hearing, like, Undertaker's throwing the hands, you're hearing, and I'm like, okay. But it was cheesy in a good way. Like it wasn't bad. Like, and I just kind of went along for the ride.
Yeah,
and if you ask me, I don't know if this is Undertaker's last match, but if they wanted to go ahead and do Undertaker's matches like this going forward at Mania, I'm good with it. And you know where I think they should go? Just to book a little ahead, and I think next year's WrestleMania would do it based off what happened this year. Bray Wyatt's righting his wrongs, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he have a little thing with The Undertaker at Mania at one point, too?
He sure did. Hey. Put those two together.
How fun would that be?
That'd be a blast, bro. That'd be fun. I'd be down for that.
So, just something to think about going forward. But yeah, I think they have something here with this cinematic approach. It's not the first time that it's been done, and Matt Hardy wasn't the first one to do it either. But there's something to be said about, if you have the right characters to tell a story like this. We've been saying how many times that WWE needs to get out of the arenas, it needs to get out of the ring. And this did that.
Yep.
So, and sure, it had the cheesy parts, especially at the end with AJ's hand sticking through the dirt with the glove and all that stuff. And speaking of, did somebody check on big homie Gallows? I do believe he got thrown off a roof.
He did, bro. He gone.
Is he good?
No, he's still laying there.
He's still
laying there. But yeah, man. I mean, it was fun, and it was a great way to end night one. And if anything, it served its purpose, because after that match or spectacle or segment or whatever it is that you want to call it, it made me want to watch night two.
Yeah.
It actually made me want to come back. And I think that kind of says something, because, again, there was going to be another match that could have possibly be done a different way, which I'm sure we're going to get to that one too, and because it was. And but yeah, it was a fun ride, man. It was cool.
It sure was. I had a blast. I really had a great time. Watching that, and really enjoyed it. And even my son, he came out the tail end of it, and he was like, "What's going on? What is this? I'm gonna have to come back and catch this." And that's something that I've talked about a lot before. And that is, what can you do to catch new fans? What can you do to make people stop and watch what's going on? Now, two athletes, you put a Sami Zayn going up against a Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship and have a great athletic 5-star match. That's not going to make the common fan stop. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's just not. I thought that this was something a spectacle that would make people stop. That's just my personal opinion. It did for my son, and I think that it hit in that aspect. I'm going to throw it over to Docs. Docs, what were you thinking about the Boneyard match?
Oh, I loved it. Anyone who knows me knows that I've dabbled in the whole film thing, so anything like cinematic that I get in wrestling is an absolute delight. And I really love shitty B-rated horror movies, and I felt like this had like a B horror movie mixed with like a generic Roadhouse kind of feel to it, and I absolutely loved it. Two competitors that are, Undertaker might not be able to go like he used to, but this environment was perfect for protecting and like hiding all of his like weak points at his, geriatric age. And AJ Styles is, one of the best of all time. Like, so he's going to be great regardless. And The music was perfect. The cheesy sound effects was perfect. The random army of fucking druids, loved it. I'm big, like, you know, I like cheese. I like a lot of cheese. I don't care if it's cheddar, ricotta, blue, Swiss. I do not give a shit. I like some cheese, and I like some cheese in my wrestling. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. Once again, had fun taking it in for what it was. We got that big evil feel back. We got that American badass feel back. Something that people was asking for, you know, for a long time. They wanted to see Big Evil again, and we got it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't have too many complaints, because we got a chance to see Undertaker be a little bit closer to Mark Calloway. Even though he's embraced the Undertaker character for so long, and I mean, it's just one of the greatest gimmicks of all time. But, you know, we're seeing Undertaker be more active on, like, social media, something I thought I'd never, ever seeing him do more documentaries and things of that nature. I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Drake, where were you at in the Boneyard match, man?
I thought it was really, really good. I'm with Docs on everything, whereas I love B-grade horror, and I loved cheesy shit, and it was just the perfect amount of everything. I loved Taker riding in on the bike. You get that Big Evil feel,
Yep.
and he rode into Metallica, which I thought was cool, even though I personally would have preferred to hear him rolling, pun intended, to Limp Bizkit. Personally, that's just me.
I
But yeah,
agree.
I thought it was wonderfully done. The shots were really cool. My only complaint, and I understand why it was done for the age of Undertaker, but I've always been a proponent of not talking about your opponent's age if they're older than you, calling them an old man, because it makes you look like shit when you eventually get beat.
Yep.
And that's how I felt the whole time. Through the build, it was, oh, you're an old man, you don't have it anymore, and it had to, you know, for the storyline telling, because the storytelling was wonderful with it involved with Undertaker finally turning it around and putting AJ in his place, saying, oh, I'm going to show you what an old man can do. I'm going to show you, you young old whippersnapper type of mood. But, yeah, it was really good. The perfect amount of cheese. The cinematography was really good. I love the shots. Sound effects, him rolling in on the bike, him leaving with the laser light show on the back of the barn or house. That was really fucking cool. But yeah, I'm with Mike also. With it really made me want to come back for night 2. I think that was a great choice to have go off the air with that, because it really hook, line, and sunk me into watching WrestleMania Part 2.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, and that was exactly how I felt. The ending of night 1 got me ready for night 2, and I'm gonna throw it over real quick to Miss Fabulosity. What was you thinking about that? Because I know that you were very invested. I know that you thoroughly enjoyed it yourself, and just like me, you're a huge Undertaker fan and always have been. So where were you at with the main event, the Boneyard match?
I thought it was really good. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows that Undertaker has always been my favorite wrestler of all time. So compared to some of his latest matches that he's had where, I mean, I hate to put it like this, but you could tell that, you know, he's getting past his prime. This was great to see. I like how it referenced the American Badass, but it was also incorporated with like a new age feel to it. I like the way that it was controlled with the shot, and it was all around badass. I mean, I love horror movies anyway, so the combination of everything put together was just, I approve. I would like to see more of this going forward. So, I mean, there's Undertaker that could keep doing this. Bray Wyatt would benefit from this type. And even Aleister Black. Those three, I think, would be really great on this type of videography. But the match overall was my favorite of the night. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. One thing I wish they would have added in that match, once again, this is just a nitpick, and it's not even really a nitpick in a bad way. It's just I would have seen it with Undertaker having to go up against literally the entire OC and then added, like, I guess, druids or something that he went up against. I would have liked to have seen a surprise appearance from Kane come and kind of help his brother out and you know, just kind of help along and help things. I think that would have just been a cool little additional touch. Once again, that's a nitpick, but I would have loved to have seen it. And I really, and I just thought the match segment, whatever you want to call it, was fun overall as you know, itself. But we're actually going to do, you know, I said we're going to cover the whole night, but I want to do something different. I want to give a little bit more content for the 14 different countries across these great United States and locally right here in Indiana. I want to give them a little bit more to chew on. So we're going to call this an episode, and we're going to get some final thoughts here from everybody. And then we're going to do an episode 2 that we will drop a little bit later on in the week. I'm thinking Wednesday. Just to give you guys some fresher content to chew on. You know, we don't want to be going too long, and we want to give you guys something else to look forward to. It's called leaving a hook, as Hutch said, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave a hook. But final thoughts here from everybody. Hutch, what was your final thoughts on WrestleMania Night 1?
Well, again, and my final thoughts are this, man. I appreciate the efforts that everybody put forth. You know, again, as we talked about, I wasn't a fan of some things and some outcomes of some matches and whatnot, but that's really irrelevant. And in these times, it doesn't matter. They set out to put on a show, and I think on night 1 they accomplished that. So I mean, I think that's pretty much it, bro.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that, bro. I agree with that. Throw it on over to Docs. Docs, what are you thinking, man? What are your final thoughts on WrestleMania Night 1?
You know, night 1 started off kind of slow, but it ended as strong as it possibly could have. There were some ups, some downs. Overall, it was a solid show. I can't really nitpick too much. I do think that Becky winning is only a symbol that, Ronda's got to come back soon, or else where the hell does she go from here? But aside from that, overall, it was a show, and it wasn't a bad one. So I'm going to give it a solid B,
Sure. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Drake, what were you thinking, man? WrestleMania Night 1, where was your head at?
Along pretty much with everybody else. It was a good show. I'm happy they came out and put out a huge effort for everyone to enjoy and have content to watch for WrestleMania. It was a bit of a slow start. It took a minute for me to pique my interest, but it finished super, super strong. And really wanted to pull you in for night 2. So I think it was a very successful show, just a slow ramp up, but it was a great effort.
Yeah, yep. I'm with you on that, man. There's no arguments as far as what I'm hearing so far. Miss Fabulosity, final thoughts on WrestleMania Night 1?
I mean, pretty much like everybody's saying, the crew went out there and they gave their all, which obviously no one could ever ask for anything more than that. Overall, ended up being a good show. Wasn't a waste of time. I mean, it, as we've stated, slow parts, but I mean, it ramped up, it picked up, it made me want to see the next night, and it gave a reason to not think about everything that's going on in the world right now.
Okay.
You just enjoyed the night.
Yep.
For 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's for the first night. So I enjoyed it. I liked it. If you didn't catch it, you should go back and watch it.
Yep. I agree with that. My final thoughts here before I let everybody, let them wrap up and put out their social medias and whatnot is I thought the night started off very slow. I was very worried. Those first 2 matches had me super worried because I didn't think I was going to stick around. Glad I did, though. Glad I did. I think what Doc said is fair. I think a B is a very fair grade considering how slow it started out. I mean, it was rough. It was so rough in my eyes that it got to a point where I thought I was going to turn off the network. And I was really worried. But, there was a lot of good, so much good matches that needed to be good. Maybe not everything was memorable. I don't think everything was memorable. I just don't. But the stuff that was memorable was great, Rollins and Owens sticks out to me. The ladder match obviously sticks out to me, and obviously the main event, which I thought was great. And I really think that moving forward, we're going to see more things like we saw with the Boneyard match, like we saw with the Firefly Funhouse match that we're going to get to in our next episode. I think we're going to see more of it because I think everybody here on this podcast that's been a part of this awesome team for as long as we've been together can agree that even after this, and I don't want to get too deep into it, I just don't, but after this pandemic is over, I think there's going to be a new normal. I don't think it's ever going to be back to quote unquote what normal was before this thing came to be. I think there's going to be a new norm. So with that being said, I would like to see more of this. Maybe not all the time, but definitely when it calls for it, and a lot of more cinematic type things, because there's definitely room for that with professional wrestling. We saw it with Matt Hardy and the Final Deletion. We saw it a lot with Lucha Underground, which I was a huge fan of, and we're seeing it more now. I like it. I think that this is where wrestling needs to go. Be a little bit more cinematic, even if it is cheesy. I don't care. It's supposed to be something away from reality. So I, for one, really enjoyed myself and had a lot of fun. And with that being said, we're going to call this a great, great episode of Night 1 of WrestleMania. Hey, we're going to hit you guys with Night 2 a little bit later on this week, and we got to leave you guys a hook, that's just what we got to do sometimes, man. We want you guys to come back. We know we haven't put out content in a little bit, but hey, In Your House is here, and In Your House is always going to be here to stay. And with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to reporter Drake Kennedy. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you at, man. Social medias and whatnot. Nobody here has any upcoming appearances, so I'm not even going to bother saying that. But go ahead and plug it, Drake.
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter at Drake Reports IYH for... I give always the spiel. I'll talk about movies or music or TV or occasionally politics. It's a rarity. I try to keep that bullshit out of there. But, yeah, chat it up with me. Hit me up. Give me a follow. Ask me something. We can talk about wrestling or music or movies. Whatever, yeah. At Drake Reports IYH on Twitter.
My man. Moving on along to Miss Fabulosity Kayla K. She's got a lot of stuff she's got to be doing, so we're going to get her off of here. Go ahead and plug it.
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Kayla K IYH. That's KALAK. Oh, I'm sorry. MISS for Miss. Sorry. But hit me on there if you need me. If you have anything, if you're a wrestler or any cause or whatever, I'll share it. Hell, hit me up. I got you.
Absolutely, yeah. She's real good about sharing that type of stuff, and yeah, definitely she will put that information out there. She's great about that. Moving right along to the outcast of the podcast, and the only one here that could probably be a Final Fantasy character and not get second glances, that is Docs. Go ahead and plug it, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Riddle Club, and household alike, it is your boy, your favorite part of the problem, the outcast of the podcast. And you can find me on Twitter at Docs on the Rocks, DOX on the ROX. You can find me on Facebook at Facebook.com/Prince Paradox Official. Also promoting, I'm producing a movie right now called Smokestack, and you can find that at Doxby Films. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, DOXBY Films. So yeah, show us support on that because we got that starting filming in a few weeks here. So yeah, aside from that, that's been my piece. A couple fuck-ups here and there, but that is my life, and you can riddle me that.
That is my man, Docs. He's got a movie that he's going to be working on. That's going to be awesome. Doxby Films, go follow that. Couple of great filmmakers collaborating and putting in some great work. I can't wait, and I want you guys to be excited about it too. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Now, moving it over to the cornerstone of commentary, and of course that's Mikey Hutch, my man, my bro, my brother. Go ahead and plug it, man.
Well, thanks, buddy. And yeah, you guys can follow me on the Twitter at Hutch IYH, and just let me know what you did. I'm pretty active on there, and I'm also on the TikTok thing as well. Fuck off, Drake. I don't want to hear it. And I haven't put anything up personally, but I'm up to a total of 47 single moms that follow me now for some reason on there. So that anomaly is still happening, even in this pandemic. So, yeah, you know what we always say here, regardless of what you cheer or what you boo, there's really not a whole lot to watch right now. But, again, you know, we are one, and we need to keep that in mind here more than ever. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us. Stay safe, stay clean, wash your hands, wash your ass. We love you in your house. Stay in yours.
Yes, absolutely, guys. We are one. One of the great slogans of this show from my man Mikey Hutch. And guys, please stay safe, stay clean, stay in your house, as he said. And while you're staying in your house, listen to In Your House with one of the best crews that you're going to find in professional wrestling media and podcasting. With that being said, guys, this was a great episode. We're going to be throwing part 2 at you later on this week, as I said, and we're going to hit you with a little bit more of that work. So let me let you guys know where you guys can listen to this at. You guys can listen to this at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Himalaya. Hey, you don't have an Apple device? That's all right. We're on Google Play. Anywhere that you guys are, we can get to you guys. No upcoming appearances, but guys, if you get a chance to, check out Pope's Point of View, another great podcast that I produce, hosted by the Pope Elijah Burke. He just had a 2-part series, the Chris Benoit story, highest downloaded episode since we started it. Guys, what are you doing? Buy a freaking shirt. That's www.prowrestlingtees.com/inyourhouse. Get this work. Get this shirt. And guys, we tell you this all the time. Hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone. Because the household, well, we still going mighty strong. You guys have a great day. Great rest of your week. Stay safe, healthy, wash your hands, and stay in your house.